Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for attending today. So we will be going through a demonstration of your HR system as you are the employee, and this is a new system that you'll be using within your employment. During your employment, we will be conducting performance reviews, check-ins. This will be a system that you'll also be accessing all of your company policies and signing your company policies through this system, and then also being able to access your position description and any assigned assets and certifications that are applicable to your employment. To start off, this is the home page. So when you log into your HR system, you will have a home page which is accessible here. So any action items that are required for your attention will be displayed on this home page right here. So for an example, for myself, I have two policies that require my attention. I can go directly into that link that will show me how to get to those policies and what I need to sign. But also, if there's any pending check ins or pending performance reviews or any goals that have been set up that are still outstanding, it will all be displayed on this home screen here. So it's like a direct, easy access for you to get to those areas within the system and those features. I might just take you through all the features that apply to you within your employment as an employee. And then if you have any questions throughout, just let me know. Okay, I'm going to use Jack Winter's profile as an example from an employee's perspective rather than my own. There's a lot more material within Jack's profile. So this is I guess the details section here. So you've got your basic information, any work information, so your login details, any personal information and emergency contact details that your manager might put into the system, which replicates payroll. Any tags that are assigned to you. So if you're working at a particular location that's different to the rest of the team, that will be assigned as a tagging feature. Or for example, if you are a first aid officer or a fire warden, your employer may use those types of tagging features for your employment. You may not have a tag feature, and that is okay, but that's essentially what it means by tag. Any policies that apply to you within your employment as part of your compliance. So this is all ticked here, and I'll show you where to access the policies. But if you do go through this detail section, this is basically just what HR policies means in regards to your employment. And your login details here. So jumping over to the compliance tab, if I were to look at Jack Winters, and you'll have the same view when you go into your profile, anything that is outstanding for compliance items will be displayed here. So as you can see, Jack has his position description that requires acknowledgement, and there's also some policies he needs to sign. So if you have any required outstanding compliance items, this is where you'll be able to view it at a bird's eye view here, as well as the homepage, and it can take you directly to those links here as well. Jumping over to position description. So any position description that is assigned to you within your employment is going to be displayed here in this tab. So for example, if Jack were to move into a different position as part of his employment, and if he was promoted, this would still be viewed here in the position description tab. It'll just be archived, and then the new and current position description would be displayed above that. And that is what would be live. An action item that comes from position descriptions as part of your employment and having access to this system means that you would need to sign your position description that's been assigned to you. So Jack hasn't signed his position description, as I showed you before, but it's been signed by his manager, which you can see at the top right-hand corner here. So as an employee, when you log into your HR system and you access your position description, if it's not signed, for an example, it will be red. It will be orange or amber as a traffic light, and it will say that it's requiring your employee acknowledgement. To do that, you would open up your position description, and there'll be a button here that says review and sign. Please please read the position description first in detail, and then once you're happy, you can sign it. If you have any questions, let your manager know before you're signing. Any questions so far?
I think the only quick question I had, I don't know if we can go back, but how does one sign? Is it just like a button that needs to be pressed or some digital signature? Like what happens there?
Yeah, basically, so I can't view it because I'm not the employee that requires the acknowledgement. Unfortunately, I've got administration access, so I can see everything that's different to an employee level. But there will be a blue button here that says review and sign. So it's very visible as soon as you do open it up on the top right hand corner. And then once you do sign it, it'll become live. So it'll actually change green instead of amber, meaning that there's no action items and it's good to go.
Yeah, awesome. That makes sense.
Cool. Any goals that are assigned to you during your employment are also accessible via your profile. So you may decide to create a goal to support your training, development, personal or professional development, and your manager might also do that for you as well during your performance review or outside of the performance review process. So when it is created, it will be displayed as a list here. But if we go into add goal, this is how you'll be able to create a goal as an employee as well. So it's always good to have a bit of a discussion with your manager beforehand. But once you do agree on a set goal and a reasonable time frame that is achievable, you can set it up here alongside your manager, and then you can pop those correct details in. So due date, for an example, if the goal has any specific KPIs, reminders for the KPIs, which will be sent directly to your email address that's been used to set up this login, and then any reminders for the goal that's upcoming until it's due. So again, always good to be discussing with your manager whenever there's some goals that need to be set and agreeing on what those mutual goals are. And then you can both set it up on the system, whether it be yourself setting it up or your manager, you have access to be able to do this. Okay, and then any assets that are assigned to you as part of your employment, it could be a key card, an ergonomic chair, as Jack Winter's profile says here. It might be a company car, etc. Anything that is assigned to you is going to be visible via your profile here. And this just ensures that from an employee's perspective, we're just keeping on track with what assets are assigned to who. Especially if there's any changes to your employment, and then we can keep track of that. And then all the applicable details of the individual asset are accessible via the system here as well. And then we have the certifications tab too. So if there's a particular certification or license that's required of you as part of your employment, this will be listed in your position description in the person specification area down the very bottom. But those corresponding licenses or registrations will be created as a certification here in the system. And this is where you'll be able to access this and be able to manually update any expired licenses or registrations that are due for renewal. You can do this by selecting the update button once it's expired. It'll ask you to select a new expiry date, and then it'll ask you to upload a file of the new certification that is now valid, or license or registration, depending on what it is. Not all certifications, licenses, or registrations may have an expiry date, and that's okay. Once they're uploaded, it'll be there, and there's a visual file that we can save from our perspective, from an employer's end. But anything that has an expiry date will require that particular date to be attached, and then the system will send you reminders from when the expiry date is 1 month out, and then we'll continue to do so. Once it's expired, it'll turn red, and that forms part of your compliance as unactioned items within the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really straightforward.
Perfect. Now, if your employer is using the filing tab within the system, i.e., for your employment contract or for your resume, for example, or any training material or maybe discussion notes of any kind during a meeting, they might be saved here. So your manager will let you know if anything is going to be saved here, and whatever is saved here, you will have access to at every point in time as well. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to jump over to the org chart. So Logins through your HR system are confidential for good reason. So every individual will go through performance reviews, will go through confidential conversations with their managers in regards to the check-in feature. So we don't want everyone to have access to everybody's profile, especially if there's employment contracts, for example, saved onto your individual profile that I've just shown. But we want people to be able to visually see who works for the company, what department, what role are they employed under, so they can understand who to go to for what particular reason. So this is where you can see that visual aspect here. And this is the org chart for this demo company here called Onwood Fabrications. So Tanya is the director. These are her direct reports here. And then Sally and Sean both have their own direct reports. So being Jack, the profile that I've just shown you, his direct report is Sean, and you can see everybody's lovely smiling faces and what their titles are. Okay, now we have the check-in feature. So at any point in time, you can organize a check-in with your reporting line manager, and they can organize one with you. You have access to be able to create this check-in through the system, and they have the same access as your manager as well. So to do this, I would always pick up the phone with my manager first and say, hey, I want to have a bit of a check-in call with you just to discuss some things. And you will both agree on a set date and time and pop that in your calendar. And once that is ready to go, this check-in can be set up through your HR system, and it'll ask you to complete some questions just to help the manager prepare for the conversation prior to. You might agree on some questions with your manager prior to. You might use these default questions that are already in the system. But if you want to remove any of them, you can, or you can add a new question as well. So again, just have that discussion with your manager, set it up in the calendar, and then you have the access to be able to set up this check-in as well as your manager as well. You can use text, you can use traffic light ranking, and you can use a happiness scale in terms of how you're going to respond to each question. Does that make sense?
I think so. And if, really, I guess it's the employer or the manager that would decide what questions go in there. But then they could also, is it them that decides how those responses come out, whether they're traffic lights or open-ended responses?
It can be mutually agreed, I think, between the two parties, both yourself as the employee and the manager as well. So
Okay.
if you are the employee and you're asking to have a check-in conversation with your manager, they may ask, what is it regarding, just so they can help prepare for it. And if it's going to be conducted through your HR system, which is encouraging, then your manager might ask you, okay, so like I said before, what is it regarding? You don't have to go into the absolute detail now, but just give me a bit of a rough idea so I can ensure that this is set up in the system accurately. And the default questions that we've got set up here might be accurate enough, or there might be a particular question that needs to be a little bit more detailed or specific to the circumstances to support the check-in discussion. If it's just a general, hey, I just want to have a bit of a touch base, this is where these default questions are really helpful because they're broad in a good way. So what has been going really well for you? What could be improved? Are there any challenges that you're facing? Do you have any concerns? So that'll open up an umbrella of lots of different responses, which is always really effective. But if a manager and employee agree that a intricate question needs to be asked, depending on what needs to be discussed, then there's the opportunity to do so. And how the questions are answered, again, mutual agreement. When it comes to the check-in discussion, there'll obviously be responses there that they would go through together, but it always then leaves room for more conversations and more questions if there's not enough, I guess, detail in here. And, there might be a bit of a wellbeing check-in from a manager's perspective and understanding what needs to be improved for their employment.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's fine. Makes sense.
Perfect. Okay, when it comes to performance reviews, there is a separate step-by-step process that we can show you in regards to how to complete the evaluation from an employee's perspective. But for now, I'm just going to discuss what a completed performance review looks like and give you a bit of an umbrella of what to expect as an employee, what that professional development looks like through the system. Okay, so let's go with this completed review here. I'm going to open the discussion. Okay, so our performance review feature is a direct extraction of the position description that's assigned to your profile into the performance review feature. So that's why it's important that we're signing our position descriptions and they're becoming live, because they are the ones that will be used during the performance review process when it comes to the discussion. Now, Stefan Smith is a factory team member, and this is the factory team member's position description. So as you can see, there's some KPIs, there's key duties by category, and then down the bottom we have the person specification, any general discussion points, and the core values of the business. So as you can see, there's some beautiful colors lit up on the screen. So as you would know, we use traffic light systems through the system. Green meaning competent, everything's looking great. Amber meaning there's some areas of improvement that need action. And red meaning, yes, there's absolutely some action items and this is looking a little bit concerning. So everything displayed on the left-hand side of the screen is the employee's review feedback. And then everything displayed on the right-hand side of the screen is the reviewer's feedback. So being your reporting line manager. Before coming together to have this performance review, there's an evaluation process that needs to be completed, which we will demonstrate to you at another time. However, once you complete this evaluation process, the performance review meeting is about coming together, an employee and a manager, one-on-one meeting, and reviewing both of your responses during that evaluation process. And that's what you can see that is displayed here. So there'll be an option to choose a traffic light per area of your position description on how you believe you've been performing on each of the areas. There's also an area for you to place some comments and some examples as to why you've chosen that traffic light color. So why do I believe I'm confident I'm going to choose green? Why do I believe I might need some area improvement? I'm going to choose amber. Or why is something red? Have I not had exposure to this yet? Or do I believe that there's some serious concern here due to XYZ? And the reviewer, your manager, is going to do the exact same thing. So this is completed separately. And then this is when you come together and you're viewing all of the responses together. And you're having a discussion based on, okay, I believe I'm competent in this area, production within my KPI. As my manager, why do you believe that I might be a little bit incompetent and might need some improvement? And that's where putting some comments in here is really important to help keep the conversation really constructive when it comes to the day. During this process, the goal feature is attached to this as well. So you can both create some goals in real time by mutual agreement once you've had that discussion, if there's any gaps of improvement. And you would essentially just go through like item by item on the position description until you've gotten to the very end. And you'll have the core values assessed by yourself as well. So how do we believe you've been behaving in alignment with the core values during the review period? And you would do the same thing. Down the very bottom, there's some generic questions. So are there any duties that you are currently, sorry, let me start that again. Are there any other duties that you are currently doing that have not been listed? And do you have any concerns regarding your job? So that is always attached to everybody's performance reviews. Same with the core values. It's automatically extracted. And then any final reviewer notes from the manager will be displayed here. Now, any completed performance reviews will be accessed to you as the employee and to the manager at any point in time. So before your next performance review in the following year, you might want to review your feedback, review any areas of improvement and what was going really well for you at that point in time, and then potentially compare that with how you believe you've been feeling when you're completing the next evaluation. And I'm sure your manager will do the exact same thing to ensure that everything is always growing. Any questions on performance reviews at a high level?
If I heard you right, you said that once the face-to-face review has been done, we put in the discussion notes in the boxes. And is it here that you're actually putting goals after, like within this part, or is that separate?
It's within the discussion. So it's within the performance review meeting. So whilst you're taking discussion notes, keep in mind this is a completed review. So I'm not able to actually edit or access this as an employee or a manager. I just wanted to show you what a completed review would look like. But yes, you would take discussion notes during the performance review meeting, and that's before everything is submitted. And then during that performance review meeting, while you're taking discussion notes, there is a goal feature that's attached. Again, I can't see this at this point in time because it's submitted, but it's within that. So it asks you at every point, do we want to create a new goal to support this?
That's really good. And so then if
those goals, sorry, go on.
And so then as you're noting those goals down, afterwards I could go to my employee profile and see what we've agreed to. Like those goals, do they show up there?
Correct. Yeah. So they're created in real time. They're automatically extracted to your profile where I showed you before. And then your manager can also access any goals that have been assigned to you as well, because obviously they need to hold you accountable.
Yeah, that's great. No, really, really good. Yeah, don't have any questions on that.
It greatly supports personal development and professional development within the workplace. And I know that from my own experience. And having open-ended conversations based on the traffic lights is also really helpful instead of using numbers, percentages, and everything in between. It just gets a little bit tricky from there, I think, when it comes to the conversational piece. Okay. This is the area where you access all of your company policies that are assigned to you within your employment. The reason why I say that are assigned to you, most company policies are going to be assigned to every employee, but then there might be some optional policies that only apply to some people. If that is the case, it will be viewed here via your own login. An optional policy might be a company motor vehicle policy, for example. But as far as you need to know, these are the company policies that will be assigned, that are assigned to you. If a company policy is red, that of course means it's a compliance action item that requires your attention, and it's clearly displayed here at the top. And that means that I basically haven't acknowledged this company policy yet. So if I open up this policy, the drug, alcohol, and fit for work, here are all the policy details that you would need to read, thoroughly review. Ask any questions if something doesn't make sense, go directly to your manager. Once you're happy and there are no further questions, you can scroll directly to the bottom, and it has a box here that requests I acknowledge, agree, and understand all aspects of this policy. If that is the case, you would click the box here and reconfirm this acknowledgement, and that then confirms that you've signed this company policy. It tells us what date and time you have signed it as well for record keeping requirements. If you go back to the company policies page, now this drug, alcohol, and fit for work policy is green, and that means it doesn't require any action items from myself. But again, we have a red policy here, respect at work. I'm going to follow the same process, read the policy, ask my manager if I've got any questions, have that resolved, scroll to the very bottom once I'm happy, tick the box, acknowledge, reconfirm, it's green, happy days. Now I have no action items within company policies. This also just streamlines the company policies process as well. So if at any point in time you need to go back and refer to a company policy for a particular procedure, for example, what's a good example? How often or how well in advance do I need to notify my manager if I want to take annual leave? So you would log into your HR system, go to the company policies, open up the leave policy, find out where that information is, and then you've got it readily available at any point in time. Whenever there's a new policy that's been assigned to you or to everybody's employment, it will be accessible through here. You will be notified that there's a new company policy and that it requires your acknowledgement. This will also come from your managers internally as well, and they will give you some timeframes of when they expect you to sign the company policy by. However, you would follow the same process, log onto the system, access it through here, read, review, ask any questions, acknowledge once you're happy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Amazing. That is all actually for the employee demonstration. Yeah, Paul, just making sure no other questions or anything in regards to action items as an employee.
Oh, no, that's great. No, it's been really good.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.